The rain had just stopped when Ethan Blackwood, one of the wealthiest men in the city, stepped out of his chauffeur-driven car with his fiancée, Isabella. The wet pavement shone under the streetlights, carrying the smell of damp stone and faint exhaust. They had just left an exclusive charity dinner, the kind where crystal glasses clink and polite laughter fills the air, though without real warmth, when Isabella suddenly froze. She reached out, her hand pointing toward the shadowed wall of a narrow side street. There, crouched against the cold bricks, was a boy so thin that his bones seemed to press against his pale skin like delicate branches under bark. His ribs rose and fell with shallow breaths, bare feet tucked beneath him as if trying to keep in the little warmth he had left. But it wasn't just his frail body that made Isabella stop. It was his eyes, deep brown, familiar, and haunting, eyes that looked like a face Ethan hadn't seen in nearly 10 years. Her voice trembled, soft yet sharp enough to cut through the city's hum. "He looks like your lost son." If you believe in kindness, second chances, and helping others when they need it most, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need hope, and subscribe to keep stories of humanity alive. Ethan's steps faltered. He didn't want to look. Over the years, he had trained himself to avoid faces that could cause him pain. His son Daniel had been just 6 years old when he was kidnapped. One moment at the park had changed everything. A short distraction, a blur of strangers, and then nothing. For years, Ethan had poured his money, influence, and heart into finding him, but every lead ended in heartbreak. Friends told him to move on. His first marriage had broken under the weight of grief. He had built walls around his pain, focusing on growing an empire as if wealth could protect him from the past. But now, standing on the wet street, that wall began to crack. The boy didn't just look like Daniel. He looked like a ghost of him, starved and robbed of childhood, holding on to life with eyes that had seen too much. Isabella gently touched Ethan's arm, urging him forward. The boy's knees were drawn to his chest, thin arms wrapped tightly for warmth. His clothes were only rags, seams frayed and stained. Around them, the city bustled. Suits hurried past, taxi lights flashed, and conversation spilled from a nearby cafe. Yet for Ethan, the world had narrowed to just the three of them. Guilt rose in his throat. How many children like this had he walked past, pretending not to see? How many could have been saved if someone had stopped? He stepped closer, the sound of his polished shoes loud against the wet sidewalk. The boy looked up, not with hope, but with the wary suspicion that comes from years of betrayal. Ethan knelt down, ignoring the water soaking into his tailored trousers. Up close, he noticed a faint scar on the boy's temple, in the same spot where Daniel had been injured at 4 years old after falling from a swing. His heart raced. Could this really be him? Or was grief playing its cruel trick again? They took him to a shelter first. Isabella, usually composed and graceful, became fiercely protective, demanding warm blankets, hot soup, and medical attention. The boy hardly spoke, eating only enough to keep from fainting, but when Ethan gently asked his name, the boy hesitated, and then whispered, "Daniel." The sound cut through the years like a blade. That night, Ethan sat beside the shelter bed, watching him sleep. Every rise and fall of the boy's frail chest felt like a fragile link between past and present. The next weeks were filled with medical visits, child welfare meetings, and careful conversations. Daniel's story, told in fragments, was one of neglect and survival. Passed from place to place, abandoned more than once, surviving on scraps and cold concrete. Whether by miracle or fate, DNA tests confirmed what Ethan's heart already knew. The boy was his son. 10 years of absence collapsed into a single moment as Ethan held Daniel again, feeling his small heartbeat against his chest. But their reunion was not the end. It was the start of a different battle. Daniel didn't know how to sleep without fear. He didn't know what it was like to have 3 meals a day. He didn't yet know if kindness could be trusted. Ethan learned patience, rebuilding trust one quiet moment at a time. There were nights when Daniel said nothing, days when sudden noises made him flinch. Isabella stood by both of them, sometimes holding Ethan when the guilt became too heavy. Months later, The boy who had once been skin and bone was running through their garden, laughing as he chased the family dog. His cheeks were fuller, his eyes shone again. Ethan realized that while he could never change the years they had lost, he could make every day ahead matter. In saving his son, he had also saved himself. If this story touched you, please like, share and subscribe so more people can hear stories of hope, love and second chances. Your engagement helps spread kindness further than you imagine. Before we end, we have a special request. Comment below with the words "kindness can heal" if you believe love can change a life.